Let's begin. First day is very exciting. Whoa! Hi. We're on page 2, first class. So we're going to start with the author's introduction, which is on page 2. That's fine. But before that, I want to give an introduction to the author's introduction. So this is a prologue to the introduction. We will be learning Mesilas Yesharim, which is also by the Ramchal, which we just finished, Derech Hashem, which took 2.5 years, which we're having a siyum, everyone, Sunday, breakfast, it's going to be great, a lot of great food.
Are the author's coming too?
The author's coming too. No, the Ramchal might also be here, but in spirit, but Rabbi Naaman for sure will be here. What? A lot of grape juice also if you want, we can get tons of grape juice.
What did you say?
A lot of great food, I think, but also grape juice if you want. But so the Ramchal wrote Derech Hashem. Derech Hashem was more of a philosophical book talking about the basic ideas of Judaism. Right? It was talking about the purpose of creation and the meaning of the mitzvahs and the holidays. Mesilas Yesharim is also written by the author, but it differs in the sense that it's more of a how-to book of how to be a good person and a good Jew, and how to actually take those ideas and put the ideas into your life. The Ramchal is going to tell us right at the beginning that you're not going to get a lot out of this book by just reading it one time. The purpose of this book, he writes, is to go over it and to inculcate the ideas in our lives. So whereas, again, Derech Hashem was more of a philosophical book about the meanings of different ideas in Judaism, Mesilas Yesharim is going to be a how-to book, how to be a good Jew, and how to live a pious life. He's obviously going to talk about philosophical ideas also, and he's actually going to write at the beginning that this book can't teach us, we probably already know everything in this book. So that could have been true maybe in his generation, but I feel like in our generation it's going to teach us a lot of things that we didn't know. Interestingly, I saw someone quote Rav Shach, who wrote that it's quite a bold thing to start off your book by writing that there's not going to be much here that you don't know already, because most people would put the book down. But the Ramchal was such a great person, I guess, that he wasn't worried about that. So just some side notes, the Ramchal we keep talking about, he wrote tons and tons of books, and really he revealed a lot of stuff that was, I would say, hidden before. A lot of Kabbalistic ideas he brought down to the average person in Derech Hashem, in Das Tvunos, and he wrote dozens and dozens of works, right? This is only a small, Derech Hashem and Mesilas Yesharim, which we're learning, are only 2 small works that he wrote. And he was born in Italy, he had some issues there, he went to Amsterdam, and he passed away in Eretz Yisrael during a plague. And he was only 39 years old. So he wrote all these works and really revolutionized Judaism in a way. And he was only by revolutionize, I mean he brought out ideas that were already there, but that a lot of people started learning now. This you might have heard of the Musar movement in yeshivas. That in yeshiva, in addition to learning Talmud, people spend time studying ethics, how to be a good person, a good Jew. And now this is the main book that people learn when they do that. And one of the things that he's going to promote is just again contemplating the ideas. And not just reading it, but sitting and contemplating, which is something that we don't do a lot, especially with the internet. There's actually a book written about how when you use the internet, it makes it harder to concentrate on ideas and actually change the physical structure of the brain. So that's actually something very hard nowadays, is to sit and concentrate on anything. But the real growth that comes from learning this book is by learning the ideas and then thinking about them and contemplating them and putting them into your life. Also, the Vilna Gaon wrote that that if the Ramchal was around when he was alive, he would have walked by foot to Italy to learn from him. And also he says that he read the first 11 the Vilna Gaon. And he also wrote that he didn't find an extra word in the first 11 chapters. So you can be very precise. He was very precise in what he wrote, and you can learn from every single word that he wrote. So now the structure of the book, just to start off before we start. So we're going to have the introduction, and the first chapter is about what's man's obligation in the world. What am I here for, right? Why do I exist? This is every question that at some point in someone's life, every human should ask this. Why am I here in the world? That's what he discusses in the first chapter. And then each subsequent chapter is about a different trait that needs to be acquired to be a good Jew and to be successful in the reason that we're here in life. This is basically a guide to life, right? How to be a good person. The book is based on a brisa which is found in Avodah Zarah. I'm going to read it in English. He's going to quote it a couple times. So Pinchas ben Yair said that Torah leads to watchfulness. Watchfulness leads to alacrity, which is also zealousness, which we'll discuss what that is. Now, if you have those 2 first traits, watchfulness and zealousness, then you're already a tzaddik. Watchfulness means that you're so careful you don't violate any negative prohibitions in the Torah. Zealousness means you're very careful and you fulfill every positive mitzvah in the Torah. So if you do that, you're already a tzaddik. You're already a totally righteous person. You're going to Gan Eden. It's going to be awesome. But there are levels beyond that. You could even be a holier person. It says alacrity leads to cleanliness. We're going to talk what cleanliness is. It doesn't mean physical cleanliness, so that's also a nice thing. It means spiritual cleanliness. Cleanliness leads to abstention or precious. Abstention leads to purity. Purity leads to piety. Piety leads to humility. Humility leads to fear of sin. Fear of sin leads to holiness. Holiness leads to prophecy. Prophecy leads to the resurrection of the dead. So he's going to go through most of these attributes and how to acquire them and how to live according to them. This is not going to be, though, a how-to class about how to raise the dead. That I'm not aware of. So sorry. You wrote on the sign. We just promised light refreshments. We didn't promise Tchias HaMesim. Okay, so let's begin. And please stop me with any questions or comments. Good comments, though. Okay. What?
Go cookies.
All right. What happened to cookies? Oh, that's
good comments.
Oh, good comments. Good cookies. Okay, great. Hakdamas Rav Mechaber. We're starting with the introduction. I think it's page 2 on the blue. This is a new translation. Oh yeah, Rabbi Braun really wants. There's a new Mesilas Yesharim by Art Scroll. Feldheim is good, but Rabbi Braun wants to get Art Scroll. So if anyone feels like sponsoring those, you can speak to Rabbi Braun. But these are also good. Amar Mechaber, says the author. Achibur zeh lo chibartiv l'lamed l'vnei adam es asher lo yadu. I didn't write this book to teach you anything that you don't know, that people don't know. I'm always nervous when I have an Israeli here, because if I make one slight mistake in the Hebrew, I'm going to get nailed, so feel free. I wrote this book to remind people what they already know and what's already obvious to them. Because most of the things you're going to find in what I'm writing, they're very obvious, and people really aren't unsure of them at all. Everything that I'm writing here, people mostly pretty much know. But actually, since most of these things are obvious, it's very easy to forget them. So sometimes we have things that are very obvious to us, but we forget them because of their obviousness. Al-Kain. Therefore, you're not going to get much out of learning this book just one time. Because if you read this whole book one time, you're probably not going to find too much that you didn't already know. Now, I have a feeling that probably for us that's not true. We're probably going to find a lot of things that we don't know. But the things that he's writing for his generation could be that they already knew most of the stuff. But really, the purpose of the book and what you're going to get out of it is by going over it and reviewing deeply. Because we're going to remind you about things that people naturally forget. Right? There are certain obvious things in life, and by going over this book, that will remind you of them. And it will put on your heart your obligation, which might be hidden from you. Just to touch upon something we mentioned in Derech Hashem, we said that a human has two parts. There's a physical component and a spiritual component. And the way Hashem wanted it is that we're in a physical world, so that the physical component of a person is very, very strong. That's why we have certain spiritual days like Shabbos and Yontiv to infuse us with that spirituality. But in general, life, we are drawn to the physical, we eat, we have to work, we have to deal with the physical world, and naturally, which the Ramchal is going to say here also, naturally we're taking away from spirituality. Spirituality is not a natural state of a person. That's something that has to be reinforced constantly. And that's what he's saying here, is that you have to constantly go over these ideas, which he's going to tell us, because they are naturally forgotten. People naturally forget them. Okay. V'tira, im tizbonem behova brova olam. If you look around the world, Kirov anshe aseichel hamahir hava pipchim hacharifim yasimu rov hisbonenam v'histaklusam bedakus hachachmas v'omek hayunim. If you look around the world, you see most intelligent people, what do they spend their time with? They spend their time learning about the fine points of wisdom. Each person according to his natural inclination. What does that mean? You have certain people that study nature, right? You have biologists. They spend their whole life studying the anatomy of a starfish. And they spend their whole lives going into all the details and all the all the parts of nature and biology, and even the minutia of biology. You have people that spend their whole lives thinking about that. You have other people that spend their whole life studying astronomy or math, and they do it very, very well. Some people dedicate themselves to the arts. Then you have people; those are scientific pursuits or whatever, and the arts. But then you have other people that study things that go into a more holy things. People studying Torah. Some people who study Torah, they spend a lot of time studying the Jewish laws. Some study the midrashim, the stories and the lessons that come out of the Torah. Some focus on just the final law, the Jewish law, the final halacha. But you have very, very few people that spend their time studying the details of serving Hashem, of how to be a complete person. So he's saying that even, it's interesting that, let me just finish the line actually. Al ha'av al yira, on loving Hashem, on fearing Hashem, al advekus, on getting close to Hashem, val kol shar chalkei hachasidus, and all other forms of piety. So he's saying that, right, you don't even have this anymore, right? You used to have people that were very intelligent, that used to spend their time studying wisdoms, different types of wisdom, math, science, astronomy, biology, and they would spend their whole lives dedicated to that. And they were very smart people, and they would find a lot of insight into that. And not only that, but there's people that learn Torah, and they spend their whole lives learning Torah. And he says, even amongst those that learn Torah, you'll find very few people in the world that dedicate themselves to how to serve Hashem properly. Right? He's going to say, it makes sense, right? We're here, right? Why are we here? We're here to serve Hashem. So you're spending all this time on studying math, science, astronomy, even Torah you're spending all this time, but how much time are we spending studying how to be a good Jew, how to serve Hashem properly? Now the reason that people don't spend their time studying how to serve Hashem properly is not because they don't think it's important. If you ask them, each one's going to say, yeah, I agree, it's a very important thing. You ask average person, they'll say, average, say, Orthodox Jewish person who believes in Hashem, is serving Hashem an important thing? They'll say, yeah, for sure. And you're not going to find a true wise person that doesn't have all these ideas, that doesn't know intellectually all these ideas. Yet they don't spend the time looking into it because many of these ideas are obvious, right? You ask a person, should you serve Hashem? Yeah, they're going to tell you, of course I should serve Hashem. So because it's such an obvious thing, they don't spend time looking into the matter. They don't think it's important to spend a long time looking into these matters. They don't spend What he says is that most intelligent people, like smart people that actually spend their time studying things, you ask them, is it important to serve Hashem? To get to have a complete service of Hashem, they'll say, of course it is, and therefore they don't study books that teach them how to serve Hashem properly. Now, it comes out that the only people that are studying these books are the foolish people. That they only the ones who aren't wise are spending their time studying the books about how to be a pious person. So people start to think, oh, hey, if you're studying these books about how to be a good Jew serving Hashem, you must be not such an intelligent person, because if you're an intelligent person, you would already know these ideas and you wouldn't have need to study these books. So he's bemoaning the state of the people that aren't spending their time studying these matters. Okay, v'ulam told us ra'os mode. What comes out of this is very, very bad. It's bad for the wise people and it's bad for the people that aren't wise. He said, what happens from this is that we don't find people that are truly pious, because the smart people aren't spending their time studying the books, and he's going to explain what the foolish people are doing. Right, the wise people aren't spending their time studying the books, so they don't really know how to serve Hashem properly, and the foolish people, they don't understand what they're reading. So much caution with tefillas kareg v'sheleg. It says, what do people think piety is? People think piety is saying Psalms the whole day, and fasting, taking on a lot of fasts, and going to the mikvah in like ice water and snow. That's what people think piety is, right? There's a religion out there where they do this. It was more popular back when the religion was founded that they used to afflict themselves physically, and they thought that's a pious person. He fasts all the time. He takes cold baths in the snow. He doesn't talk for 20 years. He just reads biblical verses all day. People think that's a true pious person. That's wrong. These are all things that the logic does not tell us are true piety. What's true piety? So true piety is really very far from what we think. I'll do one more. It says, if you don't spend time studying what Hasidus is, what piety is, what serving Hashem is, you're not going to know. But one thing's for sure, true piety is not afflicting yourself with fasts and just saying psalms all day and going to the mikvah in the snow. That's not true piety. Re'eh, ki ein divrei hachasidus v'inyanei hayir v'ava v'taras alev dvar mutbayim ba'adam. Actually, it's starchem tzayim liknosam. This is what we said before. He's going to start to explain now what is true piety. He says, the words of piety and fearing Hashem, loving Hashem, having a pure heart to serve Hashem, these are not things which are naturally found in a person, like we mentioned before. Actually, it's that you don't have to work to acquire them. These things aren't things which are naturally in a person, like sleep and getting up, harava, seva, hunger, right? A human being is naturally born, he gets tired and he gets hungry. That's natural in the physical makeup of a person. And everything else which is in our nature. But rather, it's only these physical things which are naturally in a person. Getting tired, waking up, being hungry. But when it comes to matters of spirituality, those aren't naturally in a person. Rather, you have to work to acquire them. It takes effort to acquire those things. And you have to, not only that, you have to work to acquire them, but you have to avoid the things which detract from these ideas. So he's just saying at the end that the end of our class today, that serving Hashem properly, a person is not naturally born to have fear of Hashem and to love Hashem and to have a purity of heart to serve Hashem. Those things need to be acquired and they need to be worked on. And he says that if you don't spend the time working on them, where are you going to get them? You're not going to get them. You can't be a person who in life just goes through the motions, because you're not going to acquire what you need to acquire in life, right? Whereas physical things like eating and sleeping are natural things. You don't need to work on learning how to sleep. You don't need to work on learning how to eat. You naturally have a hunger. But when it comes to serving Hashem, that has to be worked on. And he says real serving of Hashem doesn't mean, fasts and saying psalms. Rather, he's going to explain that it means working on yourself to love Hashem, to fear Hashem, to become a better person, to fulfill the mitzvahs. And he's going to go into great depth. And thank you for coming, and hope to see you next week. The end.